So. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm gonna start off this look by using this Touch in Soul No Poreblem primer, just to smoothen out my face. It does a really good job of just making my face soft and smooth. And then I'm going to use this Hard Candy Color Correct primer, which I really like, in the orange shade. And I'm going to apply a pretty thick layer of this. I applied like 2 layers, and what I should have done was set it with powder, but I didn't do that, but I should have done that. And then for foundation, I'm using a mixture of the Kevyn Sensual Skin Enhancer in SX11 and the Loreal Infallible Pro Matte Primer. And I should have used more of the Kevyn because it was kind of hard to blend out because the L'Oreal one is so matte, but these two together give a really good finish. I didn't do the best job at blending, it was a little patchy, but in the end it came out good. And then I'm using the Sensual Skin Enhancer again as concealer as usual, and I'm putting that in the center of my face and the places that I want to add some light and dimension to. Blending this out with a Sephora sponge. I don't know what it's called, but it's kind of rubbery, but it gets the job done until I find back my beauty blender. As you can see, this took some work as well because this, as I said, the sponge isn't the softest, but it gives the desired effect. Then I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cream Contour palette in the dark version, and I'm putting that under my cheekbones, on my temples, and a little bit on my jawline. And what I've realized is that if you really want to give the impression of high cheekbones, putting it in the temples is the best way to do that, because it kind of creates depth there, and there's depth under the cheekbone, so it essentially makes where you put your lighter concealer right in the middle of that, it just makes everything look higher. And then I'm using this Real Techniques buffing brush to blend out my contour. To set everything, I'm using the e.l.f. translucent powder. This one is a silica based powder, so it really does help to control oil, and it's really finely milled. Like, I will definitely be repurchasing this powder. I wonder if it comes in yellow. I think it might. If it comes in yellow, ooh, I'll be in a gear. And I'm also doing that thing, you know, where they call it like cutting the contour, and I really like the way that looks. It just makes it look a little bit more neat. And if you made a mistake and you kind of blended out your contour a bit too far out, you can use the powder to shape, you know, give it a better shape, correct where you made a mistake. And you would also see I concentrated that powder at the sides of my mouth where are my fine like smile lines, so just putting a little bit extra powder there really does help with to control the smile lines from coming through. And then I'm using this New York Pro, is it Kiss Ruby? I don't know. Pro New York bronzer in the shade medium, and I feel like for me I should have gotten the light. The medium works as well, but it kind of just depends on the foundation that I'm using. So this particular one would be good for when I go a bit too light with my foundation, because it's kind of dark. But this is such a really good, it's a really good bronzer. It's so soft, it has this perfect amount of shimmer, it's really pretty. And then because I couldn't find my usual city color contour on the Go palette, I used this dark brown shade from a Beauty Treats palette, and it did a good job, but it was really intense and it kind of gave me some trouble to blend out. But the color was good, the payoff was good, so I just made what I had to do, because I'm careless and I'm always displacing all of my makeup. Also putting that at the side of my nose. Then for blush, I'm using the Juvia's Place Saharan Blush 2 palette, and I believe the shade is called, is it Yara? I'm not sure, but it's the only brown shade in the palette. So, and I will have all the products I use listed in the description box for your viewing pleasure. And then for highlight, I'm using this Elizabeth Mott Show Me Your Glow. And as I said in a previous video, I'm pretty sure it's a dupe for Mary Luminizer from the Balm, but I don't own that, so I can't compare, but it just looks so similar. But even for me, it's kind of light, so if you're any darker than me, I would not recommend it whatsoever. And then because I felt like the translucent powder didn't like correct my bad blending of my contour, I used my LA Girl Pro powder, which has a bit more coverage, to sort of correct it, because it concealed where I went a bit too far down with the blending. And then to set everything, I'm using this Wet n Wild setting spray, and the product itself is okay, but it leaves huge droplets all over my face. Brows were done off screen, and I also started one eye. So I'm starting off with, for the entirety of this look, I'm going to be using the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. This palette is pretty amazing. So I started off with a brown shade that I'll have listed down below as a transition color. Then the main color, which is this very dark smoky green, I'm putting that in the crease as well, just to give a guideline to start cutting that crease, to start creating dimension, because I also wanted some of the green to peek through above the cut crease. And to cut the crease, I'm using the Sensual Skin Enhancer again, and a Real Techniques, I think it's like a definer brush. You really want something fluid and creamy to create a cut crease. It just makes it a lot easier. And the Sensual Skin Enhancer is really quite creamy, so you just take your time and follow your kind of bone structure. And I always like winging it out, because it creates, I feel like it makes my eye look bigger. And then I wet this brush from, I believe it's a Wet n Wild brush, and I dipped it into that matte green shade again. I wet the brush just to, I felt like it would have made it easier to make some sharp lines to create that triangular shape that I'm creating. So I did that first with the brush, and then I'm filling it in. And I know people usually don't wet their brush for matte eyeshadows, but it actually worked out pretty good. I can't remember who I saw that said they always wet their matte eyeshadows, and I was like, girl, who wets matte eyeshadow? But I was mistaken. It really does help, especially if you wanna like use it for liner. It does that, and then it just dries down to a regular matte powdery finish. So I'm filling in the rest of my eye, and I had to use a smaller brush to fill in that outer corner, because I didn't want to risk messing it up. But as you can see, I left that space in the middle there. It's really not hard to do, so you just go a bit down from where you created your cut crease and leave in the middle blank. And just once you use a flat brush, it's easy to create a shape and manipulate the eyeshadow in the way that you want. And then I'm using a light brown shade from the Jaclyn Hill palette again to put in the inner corner. Oh, and this look is totally inspired by Makeup by Pinky, or Color Blocking Queen Pinky on Instagram. I was trying to recreate it, but I don't think I did the exact same thing, so it's recreation / inspiration. So I'm taking my time and blending that green into that brown, going back into the green, to sort of make sure that my line is still showing through, and blending between the green and the brown to get a nice smoky blend. I feel like putting this like stark lighter color right next to the green just gives it a more smoky look. I don't know how to explain it, but I really like the effect of it. Like not even like a light green in the middle to transition, just dark green, bam, into light brown. So I'm taking my time and I'm using that green again to ensure that, you know, that space that I left in the middle is shaped properly. And you will see me go back in with the Real Techniques detail brush and some concealer to ensure that my line that I left blank is the way I want it to be. Taking a small definer brush and I'm just putting that smoky green under my lower lash line again, and also using the small brush to continue creating my shape. Looks like these, they are not hard, but they require a bit of time just to make sure that you get the details right. Make sure that your cut crease is clean. So it all depends on if you have the time to do it and, you know, and a bit of a steady hand. So I'm always just going back in, fixing the shade, blending some more, and I feel like I do every look with the shade. I believe it's Butter it's called, and I'm putting that in the crease and under my lower lash line as well, just to help blend out the green. And the pop of yellow really is quite complementary, especially if you have golden undertones. For glitter, I use the Revlon Lash Photo Art whatever. It will be listed down below on my lower lash line and in the negative space. This shade is called Dazzle, and then I'm using the Physcians formula liquid eyeliner to do a bit of graphic liner and outlining the outer part of the negative space. And I'm also lining my top lash line because I am not yet skilled enough to apply lashes without having some sort of black liner there. I really just like the effect that this gives. Off screen I also applied some black just to outline the negative space as well, just to create a bit more depth. For lips, I'm using this Wet n Wild brown Kohl pencil. It's not actually for your lips, but it was the only brown that I could find at the moment. And you would see that when I started blending in my lipstick, it was a bit too dark, but I just went over this lip liner with 2 coats of my lipstick, and it created the desired effect that I want. For lipstick, I'm using the NYX Liquid Suede lipstick in the shade Sandstorm. I'm continuously pressing my lips together to blend the lip liner in with lipstick. So that's the end of the look, guys. I hope you really enjoyed the video. Let me know what you want to see next time. Hit that subscribe button and I'll see you next time. Bye.